Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about concept sketches, which is a very preliminary version of a wireframe. We have a very rudimentary sketch that a client sent us, and we're going to draw that into CAD, but in a very simple format, which we'll call a concept sketch, just to kind of get the square footages of the buildings correct and see how the parking might fit within the site. And then we'll send that back to the client to make sure that they generally like the concept. And so I just wanted to show you how we go about doing that and show how that might fit together. So let's learn. Okay, so here you can see. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about concept sketches, which is a very Tampa preliminary. Just wanted to show you the aerial first, so you can wireframe fits in. We have a very rudimentary sketch that a client sent us, and we're going to draw that into CAD, but in a very simple format, geolocation map, concept sketch, so that we can just to kind of get the square footages of the buildings correct and see how the parking might fit. When we draw property, we want everything within, and then we'll send that back to the client to make sure that they generally like the concept. And so some sort of orientation. Show you how we go. And it could be two. That, you know, we could have one main show how that might fit together. Orientation that the site is orthogonal to, and then another area that's a different orientation. But this one's pretty much a rectangle, so we're going to pick one orientation. And generally, we want to pick the longest property line of the developable area. And so this is the main developable area. This pond kind of ruins this east side, so really this is kind of the longest line here. But in fact, this property line is a collection of a curve and a straight line, and we don't want to have to worry about a bunch of wacky changes, so I'm going to draw a line from one end to the other, and you can see that there's a little teeny gap in between there. But we're going to use this as our orientation. That way we can have something consistent for the whole site. And I've already set up a saved UCS, so right now you can see that I'm in World UCS because there's a square there. And if I press Control Shift middle button, I'll toggle to this one that I've already named Site. And this one is this line right here. So we're going to make some general assumptions in the beginning, and let's just assume they want maybe a 20-foot area for a landscape strip. I don't know that yet. I'm just trying to get a rough idea in there. And then I know a building that he has up here, it's 3 tenants, it's about 15,000 square feet. And typically most retail buildings are 70 feet. If for some reason you couldn't access it from both sides, like maybe it was up against a, built into a mountain or a hill or something, and you could only access it maybe from the front, you would make it 50 feet deep, but usually they're 70 feet. So if this is 15,000 square feet, I divide that by 70, and that's about 214. So I'm going to make a building that's 70 feet deep, 240 feet, 14 feet long, 17 feet, and then C for close. And then I'm going to move that building up to this line, and PW, make that 3 so we can easily see that. Then coming down, we have another 10 to 12,000 square foot building. 12,000 divided by 70 is 171. So if we make another building that's 171, 214 minus 171 is 43. So I'm going to shorten this building by 43 feet. And we're probably going to need more space up there. And then he's going to want a quick serve restaurant in here. I should have found this before we got started, but let me do a quick search. And see if I can't find something. Give me 1 second. Okay, I found a couple QSRs that we could put in here. Here's a Zaxby's, which the client was asking for. This one I think is going to be a little bit too large, even though he did want something that was fairly large. But if I group this together and we slide this over, you can see that that's really pretty huge. Here is a Salads and Go. Let's try this and see if this one might fit a little bit better. And I'm going to RP to match this property line to this layout line. So you can see that still is fairly large. These buildings are bigger, I think too big. 241 times 17, 15,000. Let's at least do 14,000, which would get rid of the 14. And then $10,500. This one will do minus 21. That should be 10,500. Okay, so now we have a little bit more room. We're kind of on the smaller end of what the client was wanting. But this is why it's conceptual. We just want to see what fits in there. And then on the other side, he wanted a 4 to 7,000 square foot building facing this way, and you know, maybe that's only a 50 feet deep, 100 feet long. Okay, so that doesn't look like it's going to fit very well. Typically, parking is going to be, I wonder if I can illustrate it with this thing here. Parking is going to be 9 by 18, and then if you had a 24-foot drive aisle, 24 feet like this. Basically, each space needs its parking space plus half of the drive aisle. And so if this is 18 typically, and then this is 24, half of it is 12. So 12 plus 18 is 30. And then if this is 9, 30 times 9 would give you the amount of that parking space. But we could just say 30 by 10, because you're going to have some islands that are wasted. You're going to have some, you know, other drive aisles to get into this drive aisle, and you're going to have a little bit of wasted space. So if we just say, as a ballpark figure, 10 feet times 30, we need 300 square feet per parking space. And if the average building is 5 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet, then we're going to need 15,000 square feet, or we change it to 14,000 square feet, times 5 parks equals 14 times 5, 70 parks or parking spaces. And 70 parks times 300 square feet is 21,000 square feet. So we need roughly 21,000 square feet for our parking area. And this guy wanted a playground. Let's say this playground, make it a little bit smaller, 40 by 70 maybe. And we'll put that kind of in the back corner there. So now our parking for this area, you know, something like that, and this is 20,000. So we're not too far off from what we need to be, but it's going to be a little bit tight. And so let's throw a label on here. Playground area. This one, 14K square feet. Put this on the CS site layer. Nope. Maybe we make this one bigger. Okay. Because we don't want to propose a building that's way too big that, you know, we can't come close to fitting the parking in that we need. And then this is 20K square feet, which is roughly equal to, that's what I was looking for, roughly equal to 20,000 divided by 300, somewhere in the 65 parks range. Okay, and then this 10,000, this is 12,700. 12,700 divided by 300 is 42. I'm just going to say 40. $12,000. It's about 40 parks, and for 40 parks divided by 5 would be 8,000 square feet. So probably need to shrink this building a little more. I wonder if we could probably go down to 100. 100 foot long times 70 is 7,000 times 5. We could be a little bit longer than that. Let's do 110. So we'll shrink this by 40 feet. That's now 7,700. 7.7K square feet. And then that's not looking very good either. Maybe this guy goes over a little more. That's 6,600 divided by 300, 20 spaces. $6K, 20 spaces. And then this was 20, would be about 4,000 square feet, but this was 5,000 square feet, so maybe it needs to be a little bit smaller. 80 times 70, 5,600. Actually, this was not 5,000, that was 7,000. So if we do 80 feet long. Oh, I forgot, it's 50 feet deep. 50 by 80 is 4,000. So let's do that. Okay. So now this is looking like it might fit together. And if we were going to turn this a little bit more into a concept plan, let's make these well, first let's just print this so we kind of have a rough idea of what to work with, and we could send it to the client. And let's just make these, put these on that layer. Let's pick a color, like a nice dark blue. We'll make it a true color. This way it'll print in blue. And this one I think was 4,000 square feet. So let's do a quick print. This is something we can shoot over to the client. We're typically going to use this CVLX PDF. Even sketches I'll want to do 11 by 17, and then just do a quick print like that. Pick our full size one. Don't apply it to all the layouts because we want our utility and erosion sheets to use the full size 2 pin set, and I'll just call this Concept A. This is on another screen. This is what you'll see when you're using the the CVLX PDF plotter. Okay, so there's that sketch. Now if we're going to take that one step further and kind of turn it into a little bit more of a wireframe, I'll delete that. Maybe 6 to 8 feet for a sidewalk, and then 60 feet generally row to row for parking. And so we can't fit that in even, which means we'd only have one row of parking and then a drive aisle, which is going to be really inefficient. We really want to park both things. So maybe we squeeze this building down to a 50-foot deep space so that we can move all of these over 20 feet so that hopefully it'll fit in the property lines. 20. Okay, so now this is 10,000 square feet. But you can see if we're going to fit 2 rows of parking, we really need that space. It can't be much bigger. You know, maybe we could go an extra 5 feet, but it really depends on landscape strips, so we need to figure that out. Okay, so it just got a little bit smaller, and that's going to be about the same. Now we're going to have the same issue down here too, so maybe we squeeze this down 20 feet and we do an 8-foot sidewalk, and then 60 and 60. Now obviously over here that's the pond, but we could get a row of parking here, and now we could get a little bit more exact. So let's say this is a drive aisle, you know, coming in this way, and I'm just going to make that a dark gray color so that we can see. Maybe let's pick a 250. Okay, so here this depth is 71. 71 divided by 9 per space is 8. So if we have 8 on either side, that's 16 parks there. So let's go down and grab one of these. And this was 8 on each side. Now the way that I'd like us to show these parking spaces, what we really care about is this row to row depth. But to show where the spaces are, I want you to just offset by 18 or whatever your dimension is, and then put this on the stripe X8 layer, like that. And then we could pick that blue color again. Okay, now down here we have a little bit more space. So 131 divided by 9 is 14 or 15. So I was a little bit conservative in my measurement. I didn't go all the way up here, I didn't go all the way down there, and we know we'll need some extra space for some handicap and things like that. So I'm just being a little bit conservative with that. Okay, I'm going to move this stuff down here into the pond. Okay, then on this side, you know, maybe we widen this up some and then shorten it up. Maybe something like that, so that we take up more of this whole space and we're not wasting. So now this guy is 155. 155 divided by 9 is 17. I'm going to say 16 because we'll probably need some landscape islands in there. 16. And then this side is 220. 220 divided by 9 is 24. I'm going to say 22 because I want to cut out probably 3 spaces to get an aisle through there. So on this side, I'm going to say 22, and then I'm going to take 3 out on this side so that we could have a break in here, so that if you don't find a parking space, you could loop around and go back out. So this one's going to be a little bit less. That's going to be 19. Let's take out 3 over here as well. That's going to be 13. And you can see we're just kind of playing with some spatial areas, but we're figuring out what might fit in here. We're not, drawing anything fancy. You don't want to go down a path of drawing something that when you get to the end, the strategy doesn't work. In other words, you don't have enough parking for the buildings, or, 2 small buildings and too much parking. And then maybe, maybe there's a drive aisle that does like this. Don't like that too much. That's a tiny thing, and it still is sticking out too much. It could be that this really needs to go like this, and we just put, maybe this parking kind of does like that, and maybe we leave a little break in here, and then have some parks there. Then these parks might be 76 divided by 9 is 8. And I really don't like the looks of this either. We put a 6-foot sidewalk here, then 18 feet of parking. This really needs to go up more like that. And this is 66. I'm going to have to put in 6 because we're going to need handicap. So this building really isn't very viable. They have to walk a long ways for that. And we're blocking off this access. We're going to need to have some sort of access somewhere. I'm not sure that this building is even viable. So let's say this guy has 15, 15 is 30, 8 and 8, 16, 46. So 46 parking spaces divided by 7.7 is 6.0 ratio. So let's move this over here, and we'll say 46 parks divided by 7.7 K square feet is equal to 6.0 spaces. 6.0, I should say ratio. Really, it's 1,000 spaces per 1,000 square feet. Okay. This guy is, how many did you say were there? 82. It's about 8 spaces. 8, 16 is 14. 14 divided by 4 is not much. 14 divided by 4, 3.5. 3.5. So that one really needs more parks, and we'll get rid of that. And put this up here. 10,000. How many parks do we have here? Oh, another thing, you can just select that stuff there and type sum Z, and then it's saying which layer is it on, and we're saying yes, it's that layer. And so it found total in the drawing 180 spaces in 13 blocks, but of what I selected, it found 4, and there were 70 spaces. So here, if we said 70 spaces divided by 10,000 square feet is a 7.0 parking ratio. So we have a little bit too much there. I wonder if we could just take all this, move it 5 feet that way, increase this by 5 feet, increase this by 5 feet in the other direction, 12,000 square feet, and let's put the dimensions here, 60 by 200, 60 feet by 200. Trying to just give the client all the reasonable information that they might want to have when thinking about this layout and what they want to change. Okay, and this one, let's just do the same thing so all of that lines up together. Actually, we don't want that or that. And let's move these back 5 feet. I'll move this out 5 feet. We'll go out 5 feet towards the road. And this one is 60 by 110. 60 by 110. Oh, you know what? Did I forget to change the size of this? 6,600. I forgot to change that earlier. So that's 6,600. Let me double check this. Yeah, that's 12,000. Okay. So 46 parks divided by that. 46 divided by 7.7. No, 46 divided by 6.6 is 6.9 ratio. So that's still over park. But it's fine for a restaurant. And did he tell me? Yeah, I think he did have a restaurant user in there. And then he also wanted some porches on the ends of these things. $60. And then one on the end here. And these are pretty small. But just enough room for that drive aisle in the middle. Let's move this back by 5. Okay, and this one's already pretty small. That one's 50 by 80. $50 by 80. Okay, so this would require modifications from that. What if we did this? I really don't like this very much. What if we just slid this over kind of into that space? Maybe we put a retaining wall, and then this just came out this way. And I'm going to move that back a little bit. $43, probably only fit 4 spaces there. That really is not good at all. Let's just put these parks down this way. 120. 120 divided by 9. 13, I'll say 12 because we'll have handicap in there too. So we have 12 parts. Let's reduce this down. So this ratio gets a little bit worse, but it actually is a little bit more of a viable thing. 12 parts. Let's squeeze this down another 20 feet to get it out of the pond, since it's underparked anyways. So now this is 3,000 square feet. 12 parks divided by 3,000 is 4, which is not great. I mean, it's fine for office, it's not good for retail, it's horrible for restaurant, but at least it's more in the range of being acceptable than 3 and some change. So let's try that. And that might be a little bit more of a viable product here. And then we could send that to the client. So we'll print that again. Print. Concept B. And that's what that looks like. And you can see it's just fleshed out a little bit more, has a little bit more information, and we can kind of use this now as a go-by of, you know, for what to work on or what to change. So that's it for a quick concept and how you might figure out how to lay something out, and I hope it's helpful, and we'll see you next time.